you going to stand backwards for this? Matt and I were out early this morning trying to, what are we going to do? It's really too wet to do much. We've had so much rain. We're going to try to deer-proof is what we're going to do today. That's our main goal, is to get out our little alarms, maybe put some streamers out.
Yeah, I think so.
And that's our main goal, and then maybe we'll do a thing here or there. But it is a beautiful morning in the mountains of southern Appalachia. You can see behind us up there the ivy's blooming. It's just surrounded our house. We're just in a circle of it, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
It's so pretty, so beautiful. I'll give you a close-up look of it. Maybe we'll hike up to one of them, but really it's everywhere. I could hike down, probably, or well, the handiest one's right down there by Matt's shed. There's a great big ivy. So it's all in full bloom, and it's just lovely, just beautiful. I guess today's going to heat up, though.
Let's get started before it gets here.
Yeah, it's kind of chilly this morning for me. Matt, of course, is not chilly. But where you want to go first? You want to go down to the big garden and do that, tackle that, and work our way back up here, and you'll be less tired when we get back up here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a close-up of the ivy. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it just so lovely? Now, if you know a lot about plants, you may be looking at this saying, Tipper, that's not ivy, that's mountain laurel. Well, technically it is, but people in the mountains of Appalachia call it ivy. It gets really confusing because right here beside the ivy, this is rhododendron, but we call it laurels. We call it laurels instead of the first one. See there's a bloom. It's about to come out on it. But if you'll notice, see the longer leaves? And then see the smaller leaves on this one? So over the years, I've talked about this many, many times on the Blind Pig and the Acorn, and even here on YouTube, I've done a video. I can link to that in the description below. But if you go back and you look in early dictionaries, you can see this was called the ivy tree or the ivy bush. That was the entry you can find in those old dictionaries. So knowing it was in the dictionary all those years ago was an early name classification for this makes you wonder, you know. I don't think Appalachians were as wrong as those scholars tried to say they were. We were really calling it by what it was called at that time. And then because of the nature of our culture and the way people our sense of place, we kind of stay in the same place. That's just another, the usage of ivy, calling it ivy, is another one of those things that have just been handed down and that people are still observing today, even though the rest of the world calls it mountain laurel. The other night, I was on the church van taking some kids home after church, and one of the young ones looked out the window, because this is ivy's blooming everywhere in our area. We was over in Martins Creek, and he said, look at that. Look at those cherry blossoms. The cherries are blooming, cherry blossoms. And the gentleman driving the van, he said, no. Now see, that's not cherry blossoms. That's ivy. The ivy's blooming. And of course, you know, that just made me get the biggest smile on my face, because here we are teaching the younger Appalachians that it's ivy. Taters look great. You can really see them from this distance. Matt says the corn is beginning to come up too, so I'm anxious to get down there and see it. We're gonna put them on T-posts this year?
I think so.
Last year we wasn't sure they would work, and we just kind of set them around everywhere, but Matt said they'd work better if we put them up off the ground.
We're gonna try it anyway.
While Matt's been down here looking, he said there's one set of tracks from the deer since the rain has been through. So he's going to put the first one, I guess, over there. You think they're coming across the creek?
Yeah, there's a trail on the other side of the creek where they always cross, and that's where that set came from. So we're going to put one right there.
Look at this. There's the corn coming up all the way out through there. That is so good to see. Here's the peanut beans that we planted coming up. But they get out through here and then they kind of peter out. There's one right there, and then none, none, none. There's another one. And then they're kind of sparse, so I hope those in between will come up. There's one. There's one. There's one. And that's how it goes for about the rest of the row, is just sparsely coming up. There's another one. And another one, but there's big spaces in between them. I hope those spaces, the beans planted there, come up too. I think that's maybe one of our winter squash trying to come up. That's definitely one of them there. And lots of weeds coming up in them. You can see how the water's washed. We may have to replant these. Water's come right down through there. Went right beside these. It's a good thing we didn't plant them just a little bit over. It would have washed them away. Matt's favorite sound of summer.
Yeah, boy.
I'm gonna put another one by the creek since Matt thinks that's where mostly the deer are coming from, over in there. Looks like it's going to be a good year for grapes. See all the little tiny grapes growing? There's some more. Granny was asking me about grapes yesterday. I said, if nothing happens, there should be plenty if you want to make jam or jelly or whatever you want to make. Look at those. And there's more over here. This end of the garden stays damp, miry. You can see where the rain still standing water right here just a little bit. I thought last year this would be a good place to put the watermelons because of that, but they didn't really do that great. So many of you have given me tips about watermelons. I want to plant some and try some of the tips, but we haven't got that done yet. I was looking for the ochre and figured it was way too early to see any, but right there's one. That's a little ochre plant. So at least one has come up. You see how it's washed down through here. I hope it didn't wash the seeds out. Oh, there's another one there. And another. And another. So that's a good sign. There's one right there. So a few ochre up, Matt.
Yeah.
It's washed off awful bad down in there, hasn't it?
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna put 3 down here to start with. We actually have a few more ordered, but they hadn't got here yet. And we're gonna go up to Granny's and put one up there in her little garden and do some work. But makes me feel better, Matt. What about you?
Yeah.
What about the crows? Do you think we should worry about the crows in the corn, or so far they've not bothered it? You think we're just gonna keep an eye on it for now? We talked about stringing some streamers across it, but it's already up pretty good. If it gets double that, then we don't have to worry no more.
Right.
So maybe we'll just hold off on that.
I'm gonna hold off and just keep eye on it. I've been coming down here about every morning looking. And I've been watching during the day from on the porch, and I ain't seen the first crow in here. They ain't gonna eat that when they're eating cornbread up here in the yard and whatever else we throw out.
Chicken feed that comes out the corners, yeah.
Yeah, I see them up there a lot.
Yeah.
Flying out of the yard when I walk out because they're eating in the scrap pile.
There's 1 or 2, I think, that's just made their home in our yard, yeah. Matt's hoeing in Granny's garden. We're gonna put out some compost and hoe it real good, and then we're gonna put up the deer alarm. I'm not sure where Matt will put it. And I might put 1 or 2 streamers in Granny's blueberry bushes over here because they are loaded this year. Try to keep the blue jays out of them. We got the deer alarm up, got Granny's garden all fixed up. You can see the taters, they look great. That little row of beans is some bush lima beans she had us plant for her. They're up and doing good. Tomatoes back there looking good so far. We'll see, hope they stay that way this year. Granny's lettuce is not doing any better than mine. It's just barely growing, and it's about too late for lettuce. There's a weed right in the middle of it too. But it hadn't done very good this year, and neither has my lettuce. Lettuce is usually really easy to grow, but for some reason, this has not been the year for lettuce for us. Then our beans out through here are looking good too. And our onions are doing good. So overall, this year, Granny's little garden's looking much better than it did last year. I forgot to show you this part of Granny's little garden. These are her red hull peas, and they're up, and I pushed the weeds back from them, so hopefully that'll help some, and they'll just continue to grow. Granny's blueberries, these little blueberry bushes here, have more on them than I have ever seen in my life. Now, they might have had more on them way back when I wasn't paying attention. They need to be trimmed back. They're about overgrown. But I think they've got so many more berries because since we had Thomas cut the trees, they get more light. So last year would have been the first year they had more light, and maybe that really did them some good, and that's why there's so many blueberries. Or maybe it's just a good year for blueberries. So thankfully, we don't have to worry as much about the deer up here. Well, we haven't ever before. This year may be the first year, but so we're not going to put any alarms up here right at the house. But we're going to put some streamers in the blueberries, but before that, Matt wants to hoe out the beans, so we're going to do that.
I know why we don't have deer up here.
How come? They're afraid of you?
I put out a force field of fear, and they just realized that that's where it comes from, is inside this house, and we should stay
So
away
they
from
stay
that
away.
yard. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's all right with me if that's how it works. Maybe I should build you a little bed down there and you can stay at both places.
What are you talking, what are you saying? You trying to get rid of me?
No. Well, that looks a lot better. Weeded, compost around them. Now they'll really take off. We hope. We're going through our onions down here pretty fast. You can see we don't have many left. Radishes are pretty much all gone. I replanted some of the carrots. Look at that, and those are coming up. That looks way better than the first time I planted them. I see some coming up right here too, so that's great. And this was the first ones I planted. You can see they're larger, but they just didn't come up. They were just really sparse where they'd come up, so that's why I replanted them. And you can see I've got a lot of weeds too that I need to be weeding. We haven't planted anything right through here. I want to put maybe some squash and zucchini, but I haven't got that done yet. This part of the garden, here's our row of lettuce that I've planted twice. You can see there's one pretty lettuce and not much else at all, even though I planted it twice. Still got some radishes back here on the back row. And then these two rows were our beets, and I planted those twice too. There's one beet. I don't really see no more beets anywhere out through there on this row. And this one's not much better. There's 1, 2. Those are probably those second ones I planted, so maybe some more will come up, but may not be a good year for my beets. Oh no, yeah, I think that's a beet. It's just slid off. I'll leave that one there. The best looking thing in this part of the garden is the kale that was planted last fall. It might have even been planted last summer, and it's just kind of hung on a little bit. I can see some Mr. Snails on it though that are trying to get them some snacks. So my flowers I planted with abandon are doing so-so. I think I've made a fatal mistake though. I told Matt. You can see there's some that's doing really good. There's some zinnias coming up good. Those right there look great. More zinnias. Mostly the zinnias is what looks like it's coming up. And some of them have been eat on too, probably by the Mr. Snails or slugs. We've been so wet. But I think my mistake was, I don't think the gazinias will get any bigger than this. I was thinking that they were a really tall flower, but I think this is gonna be it. So my zinnias are gonna overshadow them for sure. But it will still be lovely, it'll still be pretty. This will just be like a hidden little thing down inside, unless they shade it out. Maybe that won't happen. Mostly what bothers our blueberries is the blue jays. We have lots of blue jays, and they adore the berries. Wherever you think, Matt. There's no rhyme or reason, I don't think. Looks like it's gonna be a good blueberry year though. Last year was a good blueberry year too. I don't remember the name of this variety. We've had it a good long while because Matt and I both worked at Tri-County at the college when Matt bought it for me and surprised me with it. You remember that? Mm-hmm. Do you remember if it was Mother's Day or if it was my birthday or what it was?
It was Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. At that time, where I was working, I sat like at a counter, had a counter up above me. In the past, it had been used for something else, and then it was just offices, but the counter was still there. But I heard somebody come in the door, and I was working, and then somebody set something above me, and I look up, and it's a blueberry bush. Matt had set it on top of the counter. It's very sweet.
I wish we knew what it was, because
It's one of the
about the best tasting
best
one we have.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is. I don't have any memory.
I don't know.
The ones that Matt and I planted last fall and thought it was way too late, not all of them lived, but this one right here lived, and it is what is it, a early blue. It probably won't have any blueberries on it this year, but it is still alive at least. Here's another one that's still living. The violets have about took it over. I need to weed around it. Put some of that good mulch around it, or compost would be great. So it doesn't look as good as the other one, but it is still living. It's got a little piece over here. And it is a Vernon. It'd probably be doing better if I had took better care of it. The violets are pretty, but they can be invasive. Here's another one of our more established ones. Matt's done put a thing in it. Streamer. Hopefully that'll keep the blue jays off, you think? Seemed like it helped last year. It's not, it's new. It's not old. Matt thinks I'm feeding him old popsicles.
That's how you do. You clean out the refrigerator. Stuff that's about ready to throw away, and that's what you feed me. Trying to get rid of it. Or trying to get rid of me. I don't know exactly which.
We do love leftovers, though. That's the truth.
We eat a lot of leftovers.
We do, yeah.
That's what we had last night.
Well, we got a lot done. Most importantly, we got out all the deterrents. Hopefully that will help. Sunshine. As soon as we sat down, I said, "You think it's going to stay overcast?" Because I wanted you to see the ivies behind us. They're so beautiful. But we're sitting in the sun, so maybe we won't have to relocate. I'm sure since we're backlit now that my hat is making my face even more shadowy, a lot of people are concerned that I have black eyes, like Matt's beating up on me. But it's the hat. It just shades my eyes, and it makes it look like I've got really bad bags under my eyes, or I've been strung out, or been beat up. But it's just the hat. I'm really okay. And the hat, though, keeps me shaded and keeps me cooler. So I like to wear the hat, even if it does make me look like I've been on a bender, or Matt's been in a domestic with me.
I just thought you'd been participating in some extracurricular activities.
No,
Getting a little wild in your elder age.
My ideal of living it up is like if I'm in bed by 9 o'clock with my book, reading, snuggled down in the bed. I leave Matt and Katie and Ira up and go to bed.
Can you remember anything you read? I don't know how.
Because why? Because I fall
you
asleep.
go to sleep and you
drop
your
my book, and
then you pick it up, and then I don't know, 30, 40 seconds goes by, the book falls again, and then after the third time, I tell her, "That's enough. You're done. Put the book up and turn the light out," because I'm trying to go to sleep, and the book landing all over everything, the nightstand and the floor, keeps making me go to sleep.
He does not tell me that's enough.
I have.
I know. You've said go to sleep, or you're asleep, or you don't. How many more times you're going to drop it? But you don't. Never told me that's enough. Like I'm a little kid.
Maybe I'll start.
Maybe you shouldn't.
I'll get slapped.
Maybe you won't get no more food. You won't get no more 2-year-old popsicles. Which it's really not. That's a new one from this year. It feels good to have all the safety things if they work this year like they did last year. But also to get the grannies all hoed out and get the compost on everything, that just is nice. Very nice. There's lots more to do. There's lots more weeding to do. But I think the rain's supposed to come back for another few days of rain.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're not going to have a drought like we did last summer. Hopefully this means, but it seems like it was kind of rainy last spring too before it started, before the dry arrived, so that's no guarantee for sure.
It dried out just a little earlier than this last year. Because some of the stuff we had a hard time getting to come up, and this year we've not had that.
Yeah. Except for the lettuce, and that's just some kind of weird anomaly. I've had some of you tell me, and then some of the blind pig readers, that their lettuce didn't do good this year, and they're not, remotely even living close to us. So some years seems like it is, one thing does really good and one thing not so much. But lettuce is usually something that's really easy to grow. Now the lettuce we started in the cold frame, that lettuce did okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the other that we planted, I planted it twice and it's still not, we just ain't gonna have it this year. Someone asked in one of our recent videos if we're not going to plant our spinach this year, our Malabar spinach, thinking about greens. It's on that arch behind us, but it's the great thing about it is we don't have to plant it because it just comes back. So I've probably got, how many, Matt? A dozen or more already about that big over there. So it's already there growing, and we won't have to worry about replanting it.
It comes back every year by itself.
It just reseeds itself is what happens.
Yeah.
It has seeds and they drop. Time is going so fast. I say that all the time, but it's true. But I heard a lot of talk last night about school ended. I was like, it's time for school to be out. So a lot of places school is, I think, in at least Clay County. I'm not sure about Cherokee County when they're out, but I think Friday's their last day. Was that your happy time of the year when you was a kid?
You better believe that was right. I could not wait.
It seemed like then when school, that last day of school, you was like, I've got the whole summer. It's just going to go on forever, And then you get older and it just goes by in the blink of an eye.
Mm-hmm.
What was you most excited about? Just not having to be inside?
Yeah, well, not been having to be under someone else's rule, because I spent the summers by
Free.
myself mostly. Daddy's at work, and I could just do whatever and go, and I just went outside and rambled around in the woods. And where we lived was at the end of the road, and there was just big expansive fields, and there was a farm next to us that had a big long ridge on the hill above us that was pasture and had cows in it. And I'd go up there and play in that man's barn, and he was a hateful old man, and he did not want any kids on his place, and that became a game, of course, to me. I would go play on his place, and he was really old, and he couldn't get around real good. So if he was coming, if he saw you and was coming to you, he was generally had an old beat up Jeep truck, and you could hear that thing coming down the field, and I'd always get away from him. He'd be hollering out the window, and his arms flying. I don't even know what he was saying, but got to do lots of stuff like that. It was fun.
I guess you did get to go with your daddy hunting, or not hunting, but fishing, I meant to say, fishing in the summer.
Yep.
Horseback riding, horse camping.
I did a lot of that. A lot of outside fun stuff. And then the first day of school started back, and it was just horrific because that was all over. And it was just almost more than I could bear every year. I just couldn't stand it.
At the end of the school year, did your school do like lots of different fun things, or did teachers get lax and let you do other stuff?
Yeah, somewhat, yeah. Best I can remember. It's been a long time ago.
We always wanted to have water fights at the end of school. And if you were lucky, you had a bus driver who would let you do that on the bus.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might even have a bus driver to stop at a creek and let you fill back up.
Yeah. I'd say that don't happen nowadays at all.
No, I'm sure that don't happen now.
That's a whole stack of lawsuits right there.
So then it become a game of, how could you sneak your water gun onto the bus without, so the teachers didn't know, the bus driver didn't care if you had a bus driver that let you do that. And then that was fun. Sometimes at school they'd let you, like, you know, have a water day where you brought a change of clothes or something, and you threw water at each other, or maybe they had a hose or something and played in the water.
I hear it.
You hear the deer alarm?
Yeah.
Could be a deer, it could be a person, it could be
a housefly.
Yeah.
And that's
Could
probably
be.
what it is, or a mosquito.
It could be.
Yeah. Because it goes off like crazy, and I look down there and there's just nothing there.
Yeah. It seems like when I was in school too, I can remember this at the old Martins Creek School. That's when I'm talking about. That's where I went to elementary school, and it's no longer there. It burnt down, but I don't remember what grade I was in. I mean, I don't know, maybe 5th or 6th grade, maybe 7th, but maybe about 6th grade or 5th grade. But when the first time they let everybody watch a movie together. Now, in those days, how they had to do it was like I guess the VHS things had just come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe it was more like 7th grade, but they, you know, wheeled the TV.
The big giant cart with the great big TV.
Into the gym.
Yeah, I remember that.
And had the, you know, a videotape, and everybody had to just sit. Everybody just sit in the floor. We didn't have chairs or anything. Just sit in the floor and watched whatever it was. That was big fun.
They did that for us. I remember when. I don't remember what that was. It was when the first space shuttle, and I don't know if it was the first one, but it was
one of the times
But I was down in elementary school, which would have put it back in the late 70s. So I guess that was going in. I don't remember, but I think they wheeled that in there and let us watch the launch of that.
Yeah.
I can remember. I was like in 6th grade, and I don't remember. I think that's what it was. I mean, I know it wasn't the one that blew up,
No,
because
that
I was in the 12th grade when that happened.
Yeah, that was much later.
Anyway, I remember them rolling that in there and letting you watch something like that. I don't know. I don't remember. I guess it would have had to have been happening live. I don't know how they went about being able to do that, but
I don't know. Maybe it was recorded and they was just showing you.
Yeah, that could have been
Because
it.
I don't see how they could have done it live. I don't know, though. You may have had better reception in Haywood County than we did here. We wouldn't have got any kind of reception. Oh, I guess, though, if it was something nationally broadcast, one of the channels, NBC or ABC or CBS, would have showed it. Yeah, before that, you remember watching film strips?
yeah.
Yeah, that was always exciting time. Where we got to watch film strips at Martins Creek was Mr. Martin's class, and I guess he was a reading teacher. We didn't really change classes in elementary school, but we did go to Mr. Martin's like maybe once a week or something, and that's where the film strips was. I could still see him sitting at his desk with his feet up on his desk and doing the Little Match Girl. That was the one that, you know, make you cry, but do all kinds of different film strips.
We didn't change classes in elementary school at all, but
No,
I
we
did
didn't.
take a trip down the hall. I went to elementary school in the same school my daddy did. So it was an old brick building with one long hallway, classrooms on each side. Old building. And I had to make a trip down the hall, not every day, but probably 3 or 4 times a week to the principal's office. And our principal, I mean, I was just mischievous, but our principal was in elementary school was absolutely fantastic guy, great guy. He was a little old bitty man, and he was, looking back, I didn't see it at the time, but looking back, he was just an outstanding guy. You know, he put up with a whole lot more than he should have, you know, from us rough boys, and we thought he was mean. But after you get grown and you look back and you see what it took to get him to the point to do anything to you, he was being very lenient.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. His name was Mr. Bonarigo.
That's interesting.
He was from Puerto Rico. He was a little bitty short guy, but he was just a great guy.
Did you have a lot of men teachers at your school?
In elementary school, had one that I can remember. All of them were ladies up until him, and then he was tough.
Yeah.
He didn't put up with nothing. He was scary.
We, looking back, we had a lot of men. So we had Mr. Moffett, we had Mr. Smart, we had Mr. Little, Mr. Caldwell, and Mr. Martin. So that was 5.
Now, when I got into junior high and high school, we had quite a few men teachers, but elementary school I had one, and it was 6th grade. Last year I was there. You know, back then, I don't know how y'all did, but from sixth grade going into 7th was junior high school.
Yeah.
7th, 8th, and 9th.
When I was at Martins Creek, it was just all the same. But now in this past year, they moved Martins Creek's middle school to Murphy, so it's only a pre-K through 5th now.
There was not even I never even heard the term middle school till I was grown.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything like that.
Yeah, we were just, the 8th graders was on a different, like the way Martins Creek, the old building was, there was a hallway. Well, there was 2 buildings, so the lower building was the kindergarten and 1st grade, and then in the bigger building on one hallway was the 2nd grade and the 3rd grade and the 6th grade and the 5th grade. And then on the other side where the office was and the library, there was one classroom. Well, Mr. Martin's classroom was on that side too, and the reading class, I guess is what that was. And then the classroom that was 8th grade, 7th grade. But at Martins Creek, our classes were so little in those days, sometimes it was a split class. So one teacher teaching both, kind of like in the old-timey ways where one teacher would teach the whole old, one-room schoolhouse. But so when I was in 7th grade, I had, and it was usually the kind of the people that were doing the best, they would be in that upper class. So like I was, in 7th grade, I had Mr. Moffett, and then I had Mr. Moffett again for 8th grade. And I think I had Mr. Caldwell twice like that too. No, I couldn't have had him. I must have just had him for 6th grade. But all of my thinking, I've never thought about that till right now, but from 3rd grade on, all of my teachers, Mr. Little was my 3rd grade teacher, all my teachers at Martins Creek were men. There's not as many men teachers today. I loved Martins Creek School though, my goodness.
Fine. That way of doing things, of course, it's gone. You can't do it and you can't look back really.
No,
but I do anyway, but that's it. I think it produces better people in the wind-up as far as when they grow up, being taught in a small school and small class size and stuff. That's just my opinion.
I learned a lot from all those teachers, and when I went on to Murphy, I was not behind or anything like that, so they were good teachers, but they were also funny sometimes. Mr. Little, I remember he would, and y'all probably remember this, I don't know if your teachers did this, but when they had to leave the classroom, they'd let somebody take names.
Yeah, I remember that.
And of course, you try, which I didn't ever want to get in trouble, so I was quiet, but people would, try to bully the name taker, and if it was somebody that was kind of, on like a teacher's pet, they would just be a little scuffle between them. And but anyway, one time I remember, and I don't know why Mr. Little did this, but he come back and he said he wanted to see the names, took names, who was talking, and they give it to him, and I don't remember if it had, 10 people on it or 8 or whatever. I have no memory of that. I don't even think I was on it, but then he said, okay, it must have been at Christmas, said, I've decided I'm not going to paddle anybody, because they paddled in those days, and that is the only person I ever got paddling from was Mr. Little, and I think it probably was for talking, I can't remember. Anyway, but he said, I'm not going to paddle anybody and he picked out a boy in there, Jeff, if Jeff will sing Silent Night, nobody will get a paddling. Well, he was so backward, he wasn't going to sing Silent Night. And Mr. Little probably knew that, he wasn't going to sing it.
That's funny. And
then, of course, it's like Matt said, it's just a different time. And he didn't, I'm not offended by the paddling or whatever like that paddling I got, I deserved it. And the people that got a lot of paddlings, I think they deserved it too. But anyway, that's just different.
Every one I got, and I got a bunch of them.
Everybody has to make up their own mind about that. But anyway, one time in Mr. Smart's class, I was in 5th grade, and I don't remember if the boys was acting up or what. They were older than me, so that must have been like I was in 4th grade and there was some 5th graders in there. That must have been it. And some of the 4th graders was back in Mr. Little's room. I guess that was how that split class was, because there was like the grade above me, some of them was in there. And he was just teasing, but I can't remember now if it was, I think the boy might have had hiccups or something, and he was going to scare him out of him, And Mr. Smart was like the most gentle man. I just loved him. Oh my goodness. And I had his wife in high school. I loved her. But he was just teasing, but the boy took it so serious. He told him to come up there. He was going to paddle him. And then he got another boy to hold, like those great old big desks teachers had then, to hold the other side of the desk because it was going to be so bad. And it scared the poor boy to death. And then Mr. Smart felt so bad and apologized and told him. But anyway, funny things like that stand out in your memory.
I thought we was gardening.
I thought we was too, but we're talking about school now. Love those old memories.
Yep.
They just did things different in those days, and I remember when I was in, really, let's see, I'm going to think about all that now. So at that time, in the big building, that's what we called it, the little building and the big building, there would have just been one lady teacher, and she was my second grade teacher, and one of the other men teachers' son was in my class in there, went through all school with him. But she caught him and another boy saying something, a bad word. I can't remember, of course, what they were saying. And so she was, with the old school, she was going to wash their mouths out with soap. But I don't remember if she did this before she did it or afterwards. But then she took him down to his daddy's classroom and said, I caught him and I washed his mouth out. Told him. And he's just like, you shouldn't have been saying that. You deserved it, I remember her because in her classroom she had praying Manises, and she let them got to see the whole cycle of them, they hatched out and they were everywhere. And those old brick buildings, I don't know if yours was like that or not, the windowsills were like this wide.
Yeah.
I mean, you could set potted plants or books, or the occasional child would get up in it. You'd stand up or sit in it, but that's where the praying mantis were.
Ours literally had radiators.
Oh, we had radiators
hot water
too.
radiators,
Yeah.
and that was how you heated the place,
Yeah.
and they would tell you.
And they'd spout out.
That'll
the
burn
water,
you.
Yeah.
And there was no guards around it or
No.
nothing. And there was desks,
Right beside
along the
it.
wall.
Yeah.
That whole row of desks was along the radiator, and if you
Yeah.
touched it, it's just on you. You'd
Yeah.
learn, I guess.
Yeah, we had radiators in
Yeah.
all the classrooms. That's what we had, was radiators. And
that's,
the little thing that this water would
Yeah.
come out.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And no air conditioning of
No.
any kind.
No.
We'd open the big windows that fold out like that in the summer and the hot stuff. But and the school, I don't know, which one are you talking about? The Canton one or the Morning Star one?
Morning Star,
Yeah.
elementary
Oh,
school.
elementary. A lot of the schools in this area was built by the same people, and Don Byers has told me who it was, and I can't remember now. But anyway, so like Martins Creek School's gone. Of course, it lives in my memories. You can tell very vividly. But the first time I ever got to go to Stokoa Stokoa Valley Historical Center, is that it? I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's their historical school over there. And I walked in that building, and I was just like, I was in a time warp. I was like, because it was built just like Martins Creek School, and it smelled the same way. It was just I was just like giddy, running up and down, looking at the transoms above the, each classroom had a transom at the top, and I was just looking at everything, and I just couldn't believe it. And then after that, I found the same people. At that time, they come through here. They built several, of the schools like that. But I loved that smell, and of course they all had wood floors. We had wood floors. I guess y'all did too.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was the stuff they used on it. I don't know. At Martins Creek, we had to, the girls' bathroom and the boys' bathroom, they were on the back side of the building, and you had to go out the door, and then there was a little covered portico or whatever, and the bathroom was on that. I mean, you had to go, then there was the entryway to go into the bathroom. And the girls was on one side and the boys was all the way on the other. And they had those little brown bars of soap, remember that?
Yep.
So I don't know, but I've been back to Stokoa several times now, and every time I'm just like, I feel like I'm in 3rd grade or 4th grade, or, it's raining today. Are we going to get to play hula hoops in the gym? What are we going to get to do? Or recess. We didn't have PE in those days, but we had recess every day. We just run wild.
Yep, that's kind of how we did too. Good times.
Yeah, good times.
Except for the school part.
Yeah, except for the learning part.
Right.
I didn't hate school. I wasn't like mad. I enjoyed, like, there's lots of things I've learned that I still know today that I learned from Mr. Caldwell, Mr. Little, Mr. Moffett, Mr. Smart, all of them, Miss Salt. Miss Reeves, bless her heart, she passed away about a week ago. She was my first grade teacher. She was a wonderful teacher. She had cancer and she passed away.
Oh, gosh.
She was the best, and she actually got to have Corey for kindergarten, so I always thought that was really neat that she was my first grade teacher. She was really young in those days, you know, she just started, and then she got to have, was Corey's kindergarten teacher. So she was a very, very, very sweet lady and a good teacher. Very dear.
Yep.
You're right, we started out gardening and got off into the school. I was just thinking about the kids I heard last night all excited about being out of school, getting out of school. Of course, they were doing fun stuff all this week because of that. Getting to go on field trips and do different things.
You got me worried now. We talked about school so much, I'm afraid I'm going to miss a bus.
Oh man, did you ride the bus? You sometimes.
Very, very little. Almost never, but I made the mistake of letting my daddy find out how much I hated riding the bus, and then he began to use that as punishment.
Oh, and then you had to.
If I did something I wasn't supposed to do, or if my grades weren't good enough, he made me ride the bus. And he told me he knew that I would try to get around riding the bus, and I would literally walk to school. And I did lots, but he knew I would do that and not ride the bus. So he told me he had people watching me, or he said if he needed to, he would stay out of work and make sure I was on the bus. He'd put me on it his own self.
Oh gosh.
So that was my, and I don't really know why I had such a hatred for the bus. I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but I guess I just like doing stuff my own way, and that was not it.
I rode the bus every day till I was in high school and I could drive, but I rode the bus every day.
I got put off the bus mid-route.
Oh gosh.
It literally made me get off on the side of the highway, and they shut the door and drove off.
They sure wouldn't do that today.
Gosh, no, they wouldn't. Which suited me fine. I didn't want to be on it to begin with.
And you probably deserved it to
I
get
did.
put off.
Absolutely, I did. But it's just the way things are now. Looking back at that is just so shocking.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
but,
it is.
Yeah, I just had my little book bag, and from that point on, I just walked.
Yeah. I rode a bus every day.
That'd be on the news now.
Yeah. Occasionally, Daddy would take us in the morning. If he went in later for some reason, he'd drive and let us out in like a red truck with, what do you call them, running boards or wooden parts on the back, standards on the back. It was a company, Duncan's truck, or occasionally. And of course, if we missed the bus or something, somebody might occasionally, but mostly we rode the bus. And it didn't come all the way to Granny's house. It come to down at where our mailboxes are, down at my mama's house or down at Uncle Henry's after that. And so we'd have to walk down there. So yeah, sometimes I was running to catch the bus. And rode it in the evening too. The bus was 27. I don't even know if that bus is still here or if Martins Creek still has it.
Well, if that bus is still here, they got a good mechanic. They've kept that thing in good shape.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? It'd be a long time. Of course, back then, the bus drivers were young, too. They were like high school girls and boys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That probably helped with the whole, I'll stop and let you fill up your water, since they were,
they
were young, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No more of that, either.
No.
Well, I guess you're about ready for dinner.
I'm starved to death.
Come unfed. What you want me to make you for dinner? You got any leftovers in there? Could I go in there and see if I got anything in the back of the refrigerator you could eat, since you've accused me of feeding you old stuff?
The leftovers we had last night, there was a little something left, and I sent it with Corey.
Sent it home with her.
She liked it, and she was going to keep a little bit of it out and then send the rest with Austin to work. So There's none of that left.
What did they say? That old saying, like I could look in the back of the refrigerator. That usually you say it about if you get skin on your knee or your elbow or something healed up and haired over. I could look in there and see if there's anything haired over for you. Just scrape that off and let you eat it.
Don't do me like that.
I don't do you like that. Most times stuff like that don't last in our refrigerators. It gets eaten.
Yeah, I'm bad to just go in there and just start picking different stuff out and eating it standing at the door.
I call it a smorgasbord. You know, sometimes I say that's what we're having for supper.
I'm fairly much a pig when it comes to eating. I like to eat.
Matt does like to eat, and he ain't picky. He don't like just about horseradish and radishes is about your two things.
Pretty much everything else I'll eat.
You used to say you didn't like coconut, but I see you eat coconut now.
Yeah, I'll eat a little of it now.
It was when your days used to, Matt tell me it was like coconut was like toenails.
It's kind of what it's like, the texture of it. And, you know, the shredded coconut is just like a bag full of toenails.
Oh, gosh.
Cut toenails. And I just didn't want to eat that.
You ain't right. Well, we sure appreciate you coming along with us today as we deer-proofed, bird-proofed. Now we can see these streamers everywhere. I'll be able to see them out all the windows. They put funny lights on the ceiling, you know, when the sunshine hits them. What are you pointing at?
I hear blue jays screaming back in yonder.
Yeah, I hear them. They're after my blueberries probably already. But we always appreciate it when you come by to visit with us, help us celebrate Appalachia, and we hope you'll just keep coming back by. Got to see how our garden progresses this year.